Say that again. Do it again.
We had to make sure the recording was going. I apologize. I'm sorry.
That's all right. At 6:03 p.m., I'll call to order the June 24th meeting of the Manchester-Essex Regional School, Essex Elementary School Building Committee meeting. Nice job. Thank you. And turn it over to everybody here to move through the agenda.
Did you want to do a roll call for attendance?
For attendance?
Yeah,
sure.
We need to use our out on the
Big voices.
Yeah.
Okay, so online we have Michelle, say yes.
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and in person we have Tyler.
Hello.
Kim? Yes. Jen? Yes. Teresa? And Charlie? Gordon?
Yes. Perfect. Thank you. So first on the agenda, we have the previous meeting minutes from April 29, 2025 for a vote.
So
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, roll call, sorry. Start online. Henry,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Kim? Yes. Jen? Yes. Teresa? Yes. And
There's a reasonable possibility I wasn't there. Do I have to abstain?
you were not there.
Okay, let's guess that I was not there.
Yeah, yes, you were not there. Good choice.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to guess no or abstain.
That's unanimous.
Good choices.
So next on the agenda is invoices and commitments for review and approval. Tonight we have for Whittier invoice number 1 in the amount of $22,423 with the vote expected. I did send out the invoice just a couple hours ago to the full building committee. We're getting kind of into like the routine that I'm so used to that Jacob's not fully on board with what we used to do with Manchester. We'll make sure that we include any invoices or anything that are part of the process along with the presentation that is sent out in advance for your review. But the invoice was sent to Pam and Michelle well in advance for their review. We did go through it. We went through the time and materials with the backup and all the information, and I don't think there was any comments or questions from them. So we're looking for both this being tonight for this.
Okay. So I'll take a motion to approve the Doran Whittier invoice 1 in the amount of $22,423. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Does anyone have questions for Pam or Michelle since they reviewed this?
Does this align, Michelle, with your expectations? Sounds well.
Yes.
Anything further? All in favor by roll call vote starting online. Henry,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Kim. Yes. Jen. Yes. Teresa, yes. Annie.
Yes.
Charlie.
Yes.
Gordon.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
And just as a reminder, we have to do roll call vote because we have members of the board online. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Next on the agenda is the designer selection process. So the last time we met with you, we kind of went through what the designer selection process means, but I'm just going to give another high level overview for any of you that might have not been there at the last meeting in April. The designer selection panel consists of 13 members. They consist of board members, MSBA employees, and industry professionals, as well as 3 votes that come from the district, town, or city as well. And the 3 voting members include either the CEO or designee, the superintendent or designee, or school committee member and or designee. And so tonight we are looking for a recommendation for the 3 members to be selected for the designer selection panel. Obviously, Pam sits as both the CEO and the superintendent. And then I would believe that there is a recommendation as being the superintendent and CEO as a designee for one of those other positions. And then it's up for discussion for the 3rd position as well.
So I would recommend we use the same formula that we used for the memorial school, which remained was second as a designee. So I would ask them that Michelle go in as the 2nd school rep, and then I would want to choose from committee members or designee that has technical background and substitute. That's our discussion tonight. But
Correct. Yes.
We're just gonna ask the question then. who was the third seat last time? Okay, so it wasn't a school committee.
Not that.
Okay, Annie?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time we tried to choose somebody that kind of was an industry person who may know those, some of those folks, I don't know if you know them or if that would be, I mean,
I'm not.
you can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not that I don't,
Oh, no,
it's like you're trying to persuade these people, you've only got 3 votes. So you.
No, I understand.
Right, so somebody has to be willing to speak up.
Correct. Yep. Correct. But I am in favor of finding someone with industry experience as well in particular. So I don't know if, okay. John, is this something that you have background in, or would you prefer we ask one of our industry experience group members? John, you there?
Yes, I would say I'd rather defer to someone who's more experienced, to be honest.
Yep. All right, so who's at the table here, folks?
Can I ask you, what do you think?
I do think that Gordon, as you were on the last building project that we, with him and as well as Bobby, who's had the experience in the industry for a long
Well,
time.
experience of one, but
Well, meaning it's experience as far as what you're,
it's very interesting,
yeah.
very interesting, it's fascinating. The dynamics that goes on.
You know who a lot of the players are because. they work
I know them by face and name, not by personal.
Understood. I think that, coming from SMMA with your background and your experience, you know a lot of people that are within the industry and working with many different firms or come from one firm that's gone to other firms. And I think that that is great to understand who the person is and who the team is, which is really important to us for this project. You know, when it comes down to the firm as well as the experience with MSBA's projects, that's obviously key. But on top of that, the project team itself, how they've worked together, how they've worked on multiple MSB projects together. I think that that lends a lot of what we're looking for this building project. And I think Gordon, you would be an excellent person to.
I'm not lobbying for myself.
Yeah.
There's so many good people on this committee. I'd be happy to do it, because I kind of enjoy any of that. Nonetheless, there are many people here that didn't go.
So can I ask then, is there anyone who's really interested in doing this? Feel free, don't do that.
I think Jen could be a natural fit as well, maybe not with the Boston
Well, that, yeah, that's,
folks, but
and yeah, I don't know anybody on this specific list with any of these architects that are listed here. My only concern would be sort of other commitments I've let, meeting my clients.
Yeah.
What is the commitment for these separate meetings? That's a good question. So our proposals are due on July 2nd. And then from there, we would like to meet with the 3 selected members to go through the proposals, go through kind of like our evaluation of you know, experience, backgrounds, school project experience, all those kind of really important factors for us for this building project. And that would probably happen sometime in the next couple of weeks in July or so. And then from there, our first meeting with the designer selection panel is the proposal review, and that's on July 29th. So that meeting would start probably around 10:30-ish in the morning, because, or actually not, I apologize, because it's the proposal review will be on first thing, so that's 8:30 in the morning. So that's where they go through the proposals received, they go through kind of their evaluation process, and then they then go speak to the owner side, get their recommendations, and then from there is kind of how they then go to the next designer selection panel meeting, which happens on August 12th. And that's when they then take the proposals and then make their recommendation as far as who they're going to interview. So it's a 2-step process. Following proposal review, a meeting sometime third week in July to talk about the proposals before coming to the building committee end of July. And then we have July 29th and August 12th commitments with the designer selection.
I already know I'm on vacation on August 12th and the 29th is looking to be. So maybe I'll not put my hat in the ring for this one, save for the actual building.
Some of the people.
Nice. Just a question for consideration is there a sense among this group that we should have an Essex rep at that meeting?
I've never,
Represents Essex.
No, so you're hiring an architect, and you're, or hoping to hire the architect, and you're also, to some degree, probably gonna follow the kind of sense of the larger committee, right?
Right.
So it's having a voice. I mean, I think if I said there was one criteria, it wouldn't be about industry, it wouldn't be about your job description, it would be being willing to speak up in front of these people, because what Jordan Whittier's seen, what I've seen over and over again, is owners who go in and are suddenly tongue-tied. And so the MSBA does whatever they want. While owners who go in and say, we absolutely are advocating for this firm or these three firms, tend to get a lot of consideration of the firm they want. But you have to speak up. So I think it's just speaking up at those.
I don't know, I'm worried about you, Norm.
You don't think we're
Sometime.
I would agree with that, because in my one experience there, you're sitting at a table, with these all these professionals, this is face to face. They are very opinionated.
And they have all kinds of agendas that have absolutely nothing to do with the districts.
To Charlie's point, there's many different scenarios that can happen. So it all depends on how many proposals we receive. And so if we receive less than 3, there could be a situation where they might ask us to re-advertise for another round of proposals. So there's so many different circumstances when it comes to this process. Say, for instance, we had 3 or 4 very strong proposals, or we had 4 proposals submitted and 2 of them were the strongest. So they're like, we want to proceed with only interviewing 2. That could possibly happen. So there, like I'm saying, there's many different circumstances with the designer selection process. It comes down to who's submitting their proposals and what that's going to look like with who's available. They go through kind of a lot of criteria, but to that point too, everything is virtual with the designer selection panel. Nothing is in person anymore. Everything's online via Zoom. So you get entered into a room, you're approved on a list, and so that's kind of how they do their process.
So I think that since, just going back to your question about an Essex rep, I'm, as an Essex rep, I'm not concerned about this. And also this was on the agenda for tonight. And so if someone from Essex was really interested in doing that, they could make it. I would expect to hear about that. But I personally feel confident if you have the availability and willingness, or you've been through this before, and have the experience. I have a loud voice and I'm not afraid to talk, but also I'm not knowledgeable on this. So I think that's really valuable.
I agree with Charles. It's almost the strength of the voice.
Yeah.
Defending your position, or arguing your position is important. And I was frankly, when I was sitting with Pam and Avi that day, surrounded by the court, they all know each other. They all know each other's agenda. So you sit and you actually have to figure out where it's coming from. And in my mind, probably Dan and others as well, the idea of becoming part of that group, becoming a strong voice and advocate for itself is critically important.
And I think unity of opinion is really helpful too, because we have also seen 3 members of the selection committee for the district come in with different opinions, and then it's then the MSBA is like, we're just going to roll, but we don't care what So you need to go in and all agree that these are our top 3. These are who we're going to advocate for, and then most of the fine.
The other thing is, you're sending it a team. I mean, Pam has done it at least two times. And Michelle, I'm sure you've been there at the table several times, but I'm not sure. So I think it's a stronger team.
So can we?
Last time, as we also had the strength of the committee, and we were just very clear, to a person there, that if we go back without our selection, this could never be the process.
Yeah.
That's not acceptable as well. And we've been charged to get this.
You'd have to deal with the draft.
So we have to be,
Remember?
yeah, like you said, you have to be very adamant, very, polite but loud.
Yep, we united to try to finish a good word. And that's why we're gonna meet once we receive the proposals with that group a couple of times. And then we're gonna meet with the building committee before we even go into the designer selection panel, just to talk about it with the full committee, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And that way, the 3 members go in with a full, strong, this is who we support, who we really want to support our conference.
Are you guys on the phone then? You just don't speak?
We're on the phone. We're there to help the 3 members. We do not get a point, obviously, your voting capabilities, but we're here to support the district of Connor.
You get to speak.
I'm sorry,
You get to speak.
sometimes.
They used to ask the OPM to introduce the project. but I
Yeah.
don't think They do that anymore.
Yeah, usually Carl Brown kind of handles the whole kind of process. That's his thing that he's been doing for a long time now. They talk about, the proposals that are received, how many projects each firm has within the MSD pipeline, who the team is on those other projects. Last time they went before the designer selection panel. Their job really is to kind of spread the work around. That's what they like to do. We just need to be very strong as far as why we want to support specific architects for this project.
Gordon, are you willing or able? Yeah. Yeah, I remember really appreciating, I actually looked through the documents before we launched into this one. And I had all kinds of scribble on those proposals from your comments, so I really appreciated that, so. Oh, thank you. I'd be a proponent of you doing that again. I might need somebody as an assistant. I'll try.
All right, then, shall we make a motion here? All right, so I would entertain a motion to designate Pam Bodwin, Michelle Presta, and Gordon Brewster as the designer selection panel. The BES project. We need a motion.
Oh, go on. Oh, that
So
was a
moved.
motion.
So moved. Second.
There you go.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, by roll call vote starting online. Henry,
Yes.
Michelle,
yes,
John,
Yes, approve.
Tyler,
Yes.
Jen, yeah, Jen, yeah, Teresa, yes, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
Charlie, yes, Gordon,
Yes.
yeah, Pam.
Yes. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
And then just again, I know we kind of walked through the schedule, but just to remind everyone, for everyone online. We're currently out there with the request for services. We had our designer walkthrough last week. I'll show you the next page that shows the people that attended the designer walkthrough. As I said, the applications are due on July 2nd. We need to send the applications to the MSBA by July 10th. In the meantime, Gordon, Michelle, and Pam will schedule a meeting with you virtually to go through the proposals once we receive them. I'll send out a couple of different times to let us know what works best for you, and then we can set up a meeting. And then the first time we're going to the designer selection panel is on July 29th. And then from there, for interviews on August. Yes.
Who's on, I mean, it's not just the three of them on the selection. Didn't we have other folks that were on this, that were on the like vetting group?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of us.
Yeah, I don't remember who they are.
We have, yeah,
On the vetting, I'm sorry.
Like,
Actually,
we're gonna meet on the 10th of July, I thought, anyone who wanted to go through.
So we're gonna have a group with, or a meeting with the three members.
Yep.
Michelle, Pam, and Gordon. Then we're coming back to the SBC. It's July, 20
was that the 22nd?
22nd.
Yep.
Thank you, July 22nd. That's when we're gonna talk about the proposals with the SBC, go through kind of our review with you all. And just, obviously send you the proposals in advance of that meeting, so you get plenty of time to review them as well.
Yeah.
But the goal is to come to that meeting with a discussion of the proposals received and talk through pros and cons and things that you liked, and also kind of go through our evaluation process as well.
So there was a kind of a fairly significant, I thought there were a lot of people that came to the walkthrough. I can't imagine that we would be able to go through all of those in one night. So I think last time, didn't we have 2 nights of that if we had more vendors?
So just real quick, Annie, all of these are not designers.
Okay.
So there's some OPMs on here, there's some engineers on here. They just attend the walkthrough because they're working with designers. And
Okay.
They like to see which design firms that they're working with that are submitting proposals so that they can communicate with them about their services.
Yeah.
So notably on here, Lansburg, JCJ, Lavalley Resinger, Morgan Thompson Architects, those are our architectural firms that attended the walkthrough, that the other firms listed here are an OPM and a couple other engineering firms. I will say of the names listed here, Lansburg and JCJ have worked with the MSBA and on school projects within the Commonwealth. Lavalley Resinger, I'm not familiar with them working on MSBA projects, but I think they're trying. Have they gone? I can see on their website.
So,
Yeah. I'm not familiar with what other project we did work on.
Who's the other one?
Morgan Thompson and.
Morgan Thompson.
So Blandford did Ipswich, right?
Yes.
And then JCJ did Memorial.
Correct.
It's a big part of the middle high school, because I feel like
They do the first,
we have stamps.
the first on the field.
What'd you say?
On the field, it was the high school. Rightfully so, thank you.
So I think it's a good turnout for designers that came to the walkthrough. Like I said, Blandford and JCJ, I've worked with them obviously on MSP projects, on school projects, so they do have the expertise and the experience. Interesting to see of the firms that are architects on the list who submit proposals for the projects, and so that will be part of our evaluation and review. Once we get the proposal.
There's also no guarantee that everyone puts in one actually.
Correct.
Right.
Sometimes they make a go no go decision after they go to the final. They go, oh, maybe not. That's fine. So you don't actually know that they're all going to apply. So it may be a small group.
Yeah.
Is the reverse true, that if they didn't come to the walkthrough, they could still submit?
It was a mandatory agreement.
It was not a mandatory walkthrough.
It's very unusual. It's very unusual.
Okay.
I don't know if it happens very often.
It doesn't happen very often. Again,
Did a point against them or not?
It's the owners, I think, appreciate them to show up, but you don't have to, you don't have to.
it's a hard time this summer. I mean, at the end of the year, vacations and families are, but if they were interested, I would think that they would attend the walkthrough. I'll be very interested in seeing who submits proposals on the website. So as soon as we receive proposals, we'll let the whole building committee know who submitted, we'll send them out, so we can start reviewing them. And if we do get 3 or less, typically MSD does require or ask us to raise advertise. So we'll just have to see what that process, like what's the.
But I think it's pretty obvious.
Okay, I thought it might have been this bigger list, so, okay.
All right. Next on the agenda, the Memorial Elementary School expansion potential. So this came up at the building committee meeting back in April, where there was discussion about the Memorial School and whether or not we could find out some details from that project, from the design firm, as far as expansion that was studied during the early preliminary design and the first schematic report phase. So I did speak with the architect and I did go through kind of what we studied during PDP and PSR. And I just wanted to highlight facts for you this evening on what we did during that project and go through what the next steps will be once the designer is on board with us. So during the PSR phase, we had planned an expansion intended for the northwest part of the site. And as the project progressed and floodplains were identified and restrictions, the approach was revised. So the pre-K on the site was reduced from 4 classrooms to 2 classrooms, and we moved them to the northeast part of the site of the building. So the potential expansion plans also moved to the northeast part of the site. If the facility needed to be expanded, it would rely on reprogramming. And the proposed expansion would be adding 2 classrooms at the northeast off of the pre-K wing and repurpose the 2 project rooms into general classrooms. This would provide 4 additional classrooms to the school. And then in addition to that, if further expansion was needed, the pre-K program would need to be removed and the pre-K wing would become kindergarten and existing kindergarten would become general classrooms. This would add a total of 6 classrooms to the school and account for 1 additional classroom per grade. And the existing building foundations and structures, just so everyone knows, were not designed for an additional floor onto the building. The current parking is accommodated for 80 regular spaces, in addition with 6 handicap. And the current pickup and drop off loop accommodates 40 cars to queue. And so anything beyond 40 cars would obviously end up on Lincoln Streets. And then from there, the question would be, if this is the scenario, where would we pick up? So again, I want to be very clear. These are facts that we know from the Memorial Project because we were asked to find out this information. There are 3 enrollments that we'll have to say no matter what during the preliminary design program phase. And so once the designer is on board, is where we'll really dive into the 3 enrollments and what that looks like for the district itself. But again, I just wanted to highlight facts that we received from the designer from the memorial project.
Could you can you highlight with your mouse where the additional 2 classrooms would be? Are those the 2 that are closest to the tennis court right there?
So this is where the pre-K wing is, right here. These are the pre-K classrooms, and then it would be expanded off of here.
Okay, so that we move the driveway around to be able to fit those additional rooms.
I would believe so, correct.
But isn't that a single story as well?
Yes.
So could we add on to that, or is that also part of that wasn't built?
You have to rip the roof off and because it has that much extra.
But it's also.
But it sounds like the structure was not made to carry a second floor.
Correct.
Oh,
You'd end up tearing, effectively tearing it down, starting over to make it, and you'd have to put in a different elevator. Well, unless you could somehow access across the lobby, it would be a bit of a mess. And I guess it's too hot to get into it, but what are the politics? Temperature. Well, I was like about the temperature, but I mean, is this something that the district even wants to pursue?
Obviously, good. That probably doesn't go. I don't think that I'd say this is something that the district wants to pursue. I think that Pam and we have been really clear that the desire of the district is to finish the overall plan and redo Essex in Essex as was agreed upon throughout the process. The politics of this is that with recent budget conversations in the past few years, the leadership of the town of Essex having a specific desire to keep growth at a certain point has led to this conversation about why are we building a new building? Why are we talking we can't pay to drop the program into the building? Even though there's separate budgets, we understand capital versus operational, but that's the politics of this.
Okay.
I don't know if that changes based on the outcome that we just had this spring, a really strong showing of support for education in Essex, but it is going to be an ongoing.
So we need to satisfy people there's an answer, yes, for this much cost.
but you still have to do the enrollment stuff, right? That's part of the requirement.
Yes.
So can I ask a couple of like rapid fire questions? I know this came up. What if you just said, we're not doing a damn thing to that building, we're just gonna throw the kids in, we're gonna close Essex Elementary and throw them into Memorial School? What would the impact of that be?
What, isn't that what this is talking about?
Yeah, but this is saying build more.
Oh.
I'm saying, we don't care if there's 30 kids in a room.
You're saying not to
Yeah,
add on to like.
Not do anything.
Right.
What if you just chucked all the kids in closed Essex? No, this came up.
Okay, I'm
So-
sure it did.
So Andy, we literally, they're moving to that building as it,
As is, we don't do a thing.
put more kids in the same space.
So,
Yep.
so your school committees would have to create a larger class size for that.
Yeah.
Or, and the Department of Education, if they get 12, I would think the state might get a little.
Do you have any numbers on
I
what
can
this
give
would
you,
look
I
like?
can give you numbers. So if we assume that the 2 project spaces, which is what we can see this flex space, would be dedicated to absorbing special education program coming this school and not coming up with a plan for office space for all of our related services. It's designed to have 3 grade level classrooms. 3 classrooms per grade level. We currently run 4 classrooms per grade level and now 5, anticipating 5 that want to be up to the grade levels next year. So we assume between 80 and 100 students per grade level by 3 kids.
Yep.
Per class.
Is there any value? I'm just trying to like deal with the politics.
The others are not designed.
Yeah. Is there any value to saying, okay, we do nothing, we just close that summer, chuck the kids there, this is what it looks like. You're still gonna have those parking problems, you're still gonna have that pickup problem. You got more kids in playgrounds, you've got like just
This,
more.
this playground right here too, by the way, is designed for pre-K only.
Yep.
So if you were to have kindergarten turn into the pre-K thing, ideally kindergarten students would be able to maybe play there for like half of the year, 6 months, because of their growth rate. And from there, I don't see how we utilize it beyond that.
I'm just saying, it's not a bad idea to do an objective.
A no cost,
Yeah, like if we did enough, we just did this.
we just close this building, literally turn the heat off at the end of it.
Yes,
And then we just move all the kids over there.
yeah, like, what would that look like? It
We're not
doesn't have,
charging anything,
doesn't have to be like much more than this.
right?
So-
It needs to have very strong bullet points on how catastrophic it is.
Yeah, and then this, right, like, and with back of the envelope costs. Because what I'm trying to get to is that issue that came up when we were interviewing OPMs, which was you have a very big feasibility study ask. And the more you're asking, the more it's, the less fewer dollars you have to spend on the real possible solution. So I'm just trying to say, is there any way that we can knock this part of it out, communicate that out to the two town boards? And then at least say, if we pursue this, then if you really want to put this as part of the feasibility study, this is what it's going to cost, and it's going to dilute the other possibilities that we are exploring. Does any of that make sense?
Well,
Yes.
and does it make any sense that the Essex parents and residents support such a thing? Yeah, anyway, I'm saying that the Essex.
Yeah,
The Essex boards. Yeah, or maybe what people kind of know about the parents. I don't. So if you took this thing to town, meeting, it wasn't going anywhere.
well, I think that's why you
No,
know,
but that comes back to the politics of it. Why are we even doing 3 options only for this purpose?
yeah,
So,
So it really just has to
I
go.
want to let Ann speak.
so we have an objective assessment
Right, okay,
and not just taking it back because, I mean, yeah, I think I've been kind of messaging, we are not proposing reprogramming for educational reasons. If we have to financially reprogram, that's a different scope. So we're making no proposals that would facilitate studying this in and of itself. But we have had inputs about moving slightly beyond the common sense and what we think we know about the building, having a more formal professional opinion about it. So we have to include that, right, to MSBA because it's named in the scope of study.
I mean, you built a memorial school with a very strong educational program that supported why you were building it at that size, the amount of classrooms per grade, why there's pre-K within that school. I mean, there's so many factors that they approved that educational program to support that school and that size and that scope. If you're gonna shove everyone, and I don't mean that word, if you're gonna move everyone from Essex over into Memorial, and you're going to go to MSP and say, we support that scenario, that enrollment option, and really not doing anything else to it. You're gonna have to make a very strong case to them as far as why your educational program has changed completely from what you did from the Memorial School to support now, putting everyone into the Memorial with Essex as well.
I'm just saying that it's come up.
Right, and it does keep coming up, but one thing I will say too is that when this started to come up, it was coming up through school committee, right, and it's come up over a year or so building. The thing that kept telling school committee is that this is the group that makes those decisions and that then brings that to them. So what I don't want to do is say, here are some options and then go to all these other groups. This is the group that is designated to do that work. And for the politics and every other reason, importantly, I think this group needs to do that work. So I mean, we're going to have to set out the full possibility here, but I wouldn't want to be in support of taking it out to groups for more input. Because this is the group that says.
Yeah, I think this is a nip in the butt. I mean, this
That's
is
what I'm
like,
saying.
you
We
have,
all
yeah,
have to be clear on the answer of why it works, why it doesn't. But I don't think we need to bring it back to.
So
and the
That's what
overarching,
we have to
The
understand.
construct of MSBA and finding the most cost-effective option to support the program, as they go through the different scenarios they've been asked to examine, they're going to give us a report that then allows this group to make the recommendation.
Yeah.
So I don't think this group even has to process through and the details, we just have to react to the findings.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things that aren't covered here that we picked up along the way, such as what aspects of any changes to that, maybe there are no changes, but if we were to make changes, what is reimbursable versus what is out of pocket? And then is it really possible? Is the facility actually the most cost effective? Or is their perception about operation savings, and we might have to answer operational questions. But I've said on many occasions, you would think that there would be a lot, but we're already sharing so much staff between the two schools. If you're going to put 500 plus elementary students in one building, you might go down to one principal, but you're probably going to have a principal and an assistant principal. So maybe then the structure is really a lower and an upper. So I don't think you're going to find the long-term cost savings in staffing. Maybe a nurse, but you might need a nurse and a half for that part. So sure, we might have some, and we can work that out on paper, but you're also going to pick up a lot of extra transportation. So for everything you gain, there's going to be something else you're paying out. So I wouldn't hinge it on operational,
But you
other
don't
than
do capital.
closing down the
It's a capital project.
I,
The as-is scenario, can the educational program meet all requirements?
This is never gonna meet all.
can't meet our class size.
No chance. Yeah, I mean, it won't, but I also don't, I don't think it's a reimbursable project, which is why it needs to be a no cost project.
So just playing this out though,
Yep.
and go building on Tyler's question here. If we know it wouldn't meet the class size benchmark. But would it meet health and safety benchmark? Would it meet legal benchmarks? No, that
The other
they're not
one's
designed.
building code, whether there's any way that this building, so the building is designed with stairways that are a certain width, and corridors are a certain width with, even egress, toilet count, everything. And the question is, if you add a whole bunch more kids, suddenly then you have the kind of code.
I think you're more likely to be okay with the stairs and less likely to be okay with the toilet.
How many kids do you have currently per classroom? Like what's your average? I can't remember how many. Average is like 18, like 18 or 15.
I think the building, I always forget, it's in the, like 335, is that? the
335 was our grandfather enrollment, and that included the pre-K. So that was
The sentence we gave you.
335.
so we love
Is
these
that designed around, so you're going up to 550.
He said, well, you're doing 335, and then if you're taking out, in that scenario, does that mean taking pre-K out or taking pre-K in? Pre-K in. So then you're adding 250 on top of the 355.
But here's the thing,
And we can say there's no low cost project.
I think that as an FAQ, because it comes up, it's come up in every project, right? Like, how can we we don't need this. I think that it just having it could be as brief as this. Just these two options, as we looked at these two things, they don't meet the educational program. First of all, you got to change the regional agreement. Time, money, as you know what I mean? So I think there's a pretty easy way of knocking these two possibilities out of there. You still got to do the enrollment stuff, but
The architect has to be very important, so we don't
Yeah.
have to say it. because
However,
the architect-
If you take it to public meetings and say, this is essentially a no-cost option, even though it's unfortunate that, it has 30 kids in a classroom. And then they see a new building, a replacement of this building, and it's how many X millions of dollars, or an addition, or a renovation of this building, and it's many. There will be people who go, oh, I sort of like that $0.
yeah, but there's.
Well, if you're proposing something
It'll
like
be-
this, it's a really bad idea.
But it'll be a small portion of people. It won't be, I don't think.
But
That, go ahead.
Jen makes a great point about plumbing fixtures,
Yeah.
HVAC load, like there's more than we have on the slide here, dominoes into the building design.
Right, which will be a cost, it will be a non-reimbursable cost, it must be corrected. Which then maybe it's Manchester. Which Manchester.
How about that? Not bad idea.
Yeah,
So what's it, and I mean, realistically, having been involved, we're all involved, and that environment, is there no way if we could make a physical modification to that building, particularly the upper, the left hand of the left hand block, so we make a modification, make that a two-story, all that, and put all the appropriate stair, elevator spaces in with the new construction. And then accommodate the entire program. I'm not thinking about the politics, I'm not thinking about reimbursements or dollars or anything. But honestly, physically,
then it's a capital project.
they probably could be done, and it's a capital
You
project.
would take that wing down, probably.
Yes, you take that wing down and rebuild it.
But that's still not a no cost option. So
No, I'm saying, there's gotta be something that, the no cost was, we're all trying to say this is a bad idea.
Right.
This one, if we modify something designing to accommodate, and I'm not even supporting this
Right.
actually. If you do something like this, to accommodate the entire Manchester Essex program, why not?
So maybe kind of to bring it back around, it sounds like what you're telling us, based on the questions we asked you, is that the fact that the plan changed mid-process, there is a possibility for planning for an additional 4 or 6 classrooms, but the foundation is not built for that. I mean, it's a possibility that you could do that there.
Within the existing like school, and if you were to expand pre-K by 2 classes
Yeah.
outside of the building, right? Yes. And
So
so
that's-
if you can't go up,
Yeah.
it's not built for that foundation.
Yeah.
wise. So we're, best case scenario, trying to think of how you can configure it within the building along with adding in some of those additional spaces.
Okay.
And this is, again, very like high level, starting the conversation, knowing that this is a hot topic, it's something that everyone wanted to start getting into.
Yep.
But this is gonna take the designer getting on board for us. to-
Yeah.
And I think Gordon's thought is, Steve A. Klein, which is that you literally spend money, and tear down a wing, rebuild the wing, get more classrooms. And then that has a cost. Well, right, it's like 6 quarters.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And it's called the tower.
And I'm sure the Manchester Planning Board.
I don't know, I want it.
I know that. That's why you got the pointed remark.
So wrapping it up then, you answered the question we asked you to ask, to bring to us. We know that this will have to be explored further in the design phase. We see that there's a possibility, but as we're doing that, it's pretty clear that for building code and safety reasons, a no cost option, meaning as is, don't do anything, is probably not. Doesn't
I think
So
the
we
points
can
that Tyler
confidently-
brought up about the infrastructure
correct that.
servicing, and what John brought up as well too.
Yes.
As far as elevator and stairways, HVAC system, smoke, everything. It just doesn't work. Matter of fact, that list can be bolstered by all those things, really.
I also just don't think this committee in good conscience and say, we're all okay with 30. It's classic. That does not seem like a good idea.
But it's a quick, easy way to knock it out into any point. As we move forward, when the time is right in the right spot, whether it's FAQ or in the process, let's be sure to maybe include that language though, that a no cost option is not viable. So that it's very clear, because we didn't ask them to build that part in.
And you can always just refer people back, which we totally did.
Yeah.
Refer people back to the FAQ and asked and answered. We did that. We looked at it. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. That's actually a really good segue because our next topic is our website. And the website is funky right here. I don't know why it's funky on this thing, but it brings us, it should bring us directly to the website live. You can reach it directly from the MERSD website. So it brings you right to the Essex Elementary School Building Project website. When we reviewed it at our first meeting, some members did send us back some comments and changes. We've made those since then. Again, it's almost like a live document where we can make changes at any time and put any information that you'd like for us to add up to the website itself. So it will evolve as time goes on. There will be a lot more information that gets put on here, and we're excited to do so. I think that that's a good segue what we just talked about with the FAQs and coming up with some important FAQs to talk about the memorial building project itself. And we can work with Pam and her team on kind of formulating those responses, and we can review it with the building committee for the next steps.
That's one of the site.
Sorry.
We do have some previous site.
Yeah, and I think we did take over what's on the.
There is some on there.
And put it on there too. Yeah.
Any other questions on that?
Next is goal setting. So, Rachel had sent out, a questionnaire to the whole building committee asking to fill out a questionnaire about goal setting and what, what's important to the building committee. And, this is a word cloud that kind of brings the most important information, like the largest word obviously is cost. And so that's what's so important to the building committee, which is great to see that a lot of people agree with that word, and same with efficiency and to the community and sustainability, the building construction. I think ultimately it shows the goals for the building committee. We'll use that as kind of our rudder, if you will, throughout the project, and making sure as key decisions are being made, that the SBC is aligned with the goals for the project as well.
I guess I'm a little disappointed that the educational program is not, bigger because
Student, yeah.
yeah. I mean, I get it, but that, unfortunately, that is all we talk about schools lately. We don't talk about program and we don't talk about goal setting, so it's just, it's, to me, this is a bummer, but
Although I will say that I think the MSBA process inevitably takes into account I mean, you have a standard of what you have to meet, and protected. They, you have the district does an end plan that becomes kind of guiding light for the architect to follow. So I think that won't be more because it's sort of baked into the process.
Amy, I thought the same thing, because even on like, I think it's the next slide, it says primary value, the primary goal is value. And then further down, some of the design priorities and the student kind of priorities.
yeah.
I think it's also important that, when we do the goal setting and the word cloud, maybe we do it multiple times throughout the process and not just at the beginning, because your goals and your values are going to change as we're making key decisions as well. So I don't think it's just reasonable for us to just do it once at the beginning, and we should continue asking the question and further evaluating it.
Depending on when we did that too, that may have been before the outcome from town meeting and our town election as well. And, but I might answer my questions differently, knowing how the voters of our town came out. So that education is set up. So
It's good to know.
Program phrase is becoming, it's also must be a frustration point too, because I think it's often misused. The building project doesn't promise to say, hey, let's build an educational program. We have a program, and the program is a compilation of all of our values, everything from the program of studies and the courses we offer to how we teach. And if they simply just ask us to report on what we do to make sure you don't start to build a building that can't facilitate what we're already doing, right? So if we were a district that just had, and I don't know of any that does, so this is just a outlandish example, but we don't do specialized special education programming in the district. We send everybody out. Well, that just means there is an efficiency there because you wouldn't need certain. But we already have those established programs, so any facility is going to have to account for that. So I think sometimes the program more lately is becoming a new trigger and listing order that is loaded. So I would love to maybe clarity around what that is, because the program is really not that. Is it a cost driver? It's really a philosophy of how most of it's done just to be,
And you write the educational program, the district does, so you control that. So the district has control over certain fundamental issues that the design team, project team dollars, and that's the way the MSBA wants it. So I don't think that stuff will get ignored.
I know it won't get ignored, it just,
Well, everyone's anxious about the vote. Everyone's anxious.
yeah, and they're also, yeah, I mean, I get the money thing, but I also think we, as a district, we sometimes lose the goal, which is like educating students and fulfilling the educational mission. And then the building is just part of that. Does that make sense?
I'm pretty confident in the process.
I know.
What I said, Andy, I think program is now being lumped into the thing that should just be inefficiency. And if you ask about program, you would say cost. Efficiency, I can see the same, hear the words coming. But I think it might be better to find what that means. There's not a lot of money necessarily to whether or not we teach one versus that versus additional differentiated.
Yeah, I mean, your
I
program,
don't want open classrooms.
I think every district is a little bit, I mean, every district can be different. Every, city, town, whoever you work with, some people, like your district, you already have your program set. You've already followed it, you've already had it kind of drawn out there. I think that there are other towns or cities we've worked in that maybe haven't had their program worked on in a while. They've had, maybe more staff on board and they're kind of setting their own kind of program, and they're all way, and so it's introduced, you know, depending on the different people that are within that district, exactly your kind of that time. But ultimately, your program is gonna drive the size of the building, which is the stationary of the building. And that's kind of what's gonna set the, you know, square footage and what that looks like as far as your building itself. So that really is the key of your setting program and what that means for the space and running size.
Can I make a request on the Zoom? I know you're sharing the screen, but can we do it so that we can still see the online participants
Yeah.
in case one of them is raising their
Yeah.
hand saying something?
Yeah.
And Henry, Michelle, and John, if you want to jump in, please do. We just couldn't see you in the moment.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
And then part of also the question, we're talking about working groups. So we put together kind of list of all the working groups that people were interested in participating in throughout the design process. Site logistics ended up being favorable. Same with exterior design and facility assessment, community outreach. It's great to have working groups because the working groups kind of help have work done outside of the SBC. And then the SBC, the working groups can come to the SBC once we have these kind of other outside groups to come to make a recommendation or talk about the work that's been done and talk through the different type of topics that are involved here that people are interested in working on. So we'll start forming those working groups when the designers on board. I think the community outreach one would be key for us to start on when the designers on board because they're ultimately going to stay like end of August. When they're going to be fully on board is August 12th is the last designer selection panel meeting for interviews. So I would say by end of August, September 1, they should be fully on board. And so from there, it would be good to have a fall community meeting to do like an introductory meeting. Who we are, what the process looks like, and just getting people used to like, seeing us and what the next steps are. And then upcoming meetings. So our next meeting is on July 22nd. That will review the proposals that were received and talk through what the PSP members reviewed with us as the OPM team. Again, our first meeting with MSBA designer selection panel is on July 29th. Our second meeting is on August 12th. And then from there, our next SBC meeting in August 26th. That should be our first kickoff meeting with the designer on board. And then we have our September meeting on the 23rd. And so we did add in a community meeting TBD for now, but we're going to earmark some time in October. We'll work with Pam on scheduling and set out a doable for a time that works best for everyone and see if that for that first meeting. Then next on the agenda is just any other topics. Anyone want to talk about?
Anyone? Anyone online have other topics?
On the upcoming meetings, based on the needs of how we here, we want to do it at the high school learning content, which is climate control. Well, kind of together.
Yeah.
Or do we want to wait to make it generally based on?
Well, we're,
Our library.
I would say,
Library?
I feel like there's value in keeping it here. I know, I'm roasting.
I love this in the can.
Yeah.
I think we can do up the. It's like a match.
Yeah, for work.
I'll bring a block of ice to the stand.
Perfect.
Like the old fashioned.
Right, stay here.
That'll be hybrid, right? Yeah.
Then public comment. Come on, this is my name, Cheryl. Cheryl.
Cheryl Malden.
And first name, Cheryl. Cheryl, we're at the public comment portion of the meeting. If you have anything you want to reach your hand.
Okay, then take a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second,
Henry seconds by roll call vote online. Michelle,
Yes.
Henry,
yes.
we lost John, Tyler.
Yes.
Yeah, Teresa, yes.
And yes.
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 And yes, yes.
Pam, yes. Say it again. All right, we are
All right,
adjourned at
everybody.
6:59 PM.